So here I am with Mr. Myles Winnicky from Orion Developments here in Regina. One of the things when we first had this idea on creating a podcast for construction in southern Saskatchewan, primarily Regina, Myles was the first person that came to my mind. Myles has a wealth of information. He's been part of this industry for so many years. He's done everything within the industry. He's right from the construction, labor, to project management, to scheduling, to ownership, and thank you for joining us, Myles.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, Myles, for the people who don't know who you are, who is Mr. Myles Winnicky?
Born and raised Regina. Spent all of my life here with the exception of 10 years, 2002 to 2012 in Calgary. And came back in 2011 for a bit of a summer holiday and realized how much I missed the city itself, and wheels in motion to bring myself back here. And, from an industry point of view with it, I wasn't planning on getting the industry with it. Typical story of unemployed, needing a job, and got hired as a laborer at early age in my early 20s. And things kind of moved from there.
So again, as we said, you have a lot of wealth of industry knowledge in construction. What's your professional background?
Well, the professional background is again, it started as a laborer. I was very fortunate, to switch gears with the people I've been able to work with. But started as a laborer, and with that company at this time, it was a company called Dominion Construction, and I moved from a laborer to a labor foreman. Short time, then they had a spin-off company, Domco Construction, and through that became a carpenter, then a carpenter foreman, and then ran some small projects for the company and a few a bit larger. Segued over to residential as well after that, probably the mid-90s. And so labor foreman, carpenter foreman, ran small projects, got into residential, and ran the gamut of that as well as production manager and eventually business owner based on the past experience.
Excellent. So what are some of the most memorable projects you've worked on in Regina?
Well, I go back again to the commercial point, which is for the city of Regina specifically, was Casino Regina, when we was involved with that project when we moved it from the train station to Casino Regina. That stands out on the commercial forefront. Residential was, at the advent of Orion Developments with it. First home I built with Orion Developments. Clients were looking for a home. I was in the past more interested in more classic style homes. And they came to me and says, we're looking for something modern. And I kind of winced a bit thinking, oh, it's in this area with it. And but the clients, but I had a house that was sitting, I was looking through some Google images one time with it. This house stuck with me. And for some reason, a couple of years before that, I saved the image. And I had it on my phone. And I showed the couple this picture and literally says, what do you think of this? And they said, we love it. Well, think about it. They thought about it. Next thing you know, that's what we want. So basically, we built the house off of that picture. And, I scaled everything out 1/4 inch per foot to make it work on the lot. And basically, if you drive by the house at 4015 Victoria Ave, now they wouldn't mind, and take a look at that house. It looks exactly like the photo that we found with it. That's my standout still. But anything we do is still, there's a lot of good memories here.
So, as you've been here for so many years, what are some of the big changes that's happened in Regina over the last 10, 20 years?
Well, 10, 20, I could go back 30, 36, 38 years, but a lot of the changes that took place, like I said, I moved to Calgary in 2002, and my first introduction to the home building industry specifically was the amount of sub-trades that were there. Everybody was a sub-trade. Prior to that, plumbers, electricians, you all worked for a handful of companies, and you stayed with those companies. I'm off to Calgary with it and finding out that, two guys in a pickup truck start a company, and they get hired by another company and, run that way. The downside of that is there really wasn't a lot of education based on what I saw at some of the workers of the workforce that way. Whereas, you work with a company for a handful of years, you learn to craft your skill better based on mentoring, if you will. So that was missing. I came back to Regina in 2012, and there was a bit more of that. It changed in that 10 years, but it's that's probably the most significant change is the amount of subtrade partners with it, that way with it. How you run everything, of course, with it now, there's programs, before with it, look back to the days, could you ever imagine, not having access with a phone, having your dimes in your pocket and going to look for a phone, or potentially having a pager, which is a big step up, things like that. But from an industry as a whole with it, the practical of building is still the same as what's happening offsite.
Right.
A lot, the more goes into it nowadays for that has eased it a bit, as opposed to, being as hands-on every day for every aspect of it.
Right. You and I have had many conversations over the past while here on some of the challenges Regina's building industry is having, on the residential side more so than the commercial. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, challenges are interesting at this base. Again, I moved back here in 2012, and the energy there was so different. We had more builders, we had more people involved with the industry. We built a lot more homes, and again, that's changed significantly to where we are now with it. We've had quite a slowdown. Interest rates, et cetera, really impacted what we're doing here. And, with that in mind, the biggest impact then is the people that are leaving, the people that are no longer available here with it. Some of the larger players in the industry are no longer here. Regina's largest builder back in 2012 is, I believe, they just sold their last home. And, they're back off their headquarters in Alberta with it. So some of the challenges then specifically related to is the trade pool, and believe it or not, the builders in the builder group. It's pretty shallow at this point. So again, with my thoughts, with 2025 is going to probably amp up. For product development, interest rates are better with it. It's trying to see if we have that the workforce available with it to really move at a competent pace to meet the demand, the potential demand that's here.
So, on that, how are you finding the demand? Are there still lots of people looking to build? Because I know, as you sort of mentioned on there, there's much fewer starts now than, say, 4 or 5 years ago. How are you finding that? Are you finding there's still demand, there's just not the builders, or there's just not the builders and lots of demand?
That is interesting. What's happened in the last couple of years, and again, specifically related to the interest rate increase, which really put a stop block on, say, a home $600,000 and up. So everybody kind of froze, with the exception of a couple of players within the industry that were more of the entry-level product, which continue to sell. But where I'm seeing it today is specifically related to is the adjustments should take place where the market has changed from perhaps that more expensive home with the bells and whistles to more of a production style build, which I believe in 2025 is, it could potentially take off. I think this year could have been much better too for some of the builders as well, but they weren't prepared to build that product. I've got a friend of mine with another builder, and I point blank said to him one day, I says, if you guys would have had 20 more builds this year, he said, we would have had 20 more sales. So I think the appetite is there. It's just if we're fully prepared to engage that ahead of time, if you will, as opposed to time getting along with it. And, we could have been here as opposed to there. It'll come, though. It'll come.
Absolutely. So I know one of your strengths, talking to many different people in the industry, is your ability to just sort of schedule and handle that schedule on there. So what's your magic touch? What's your
magic touch? Well, and I love this part too with it, because I go back again when I'm a product of my past, good and bad. I say that in a nice way. Sometimes positions, you leave a job or something, but you always take something with you. And one of my past positions with a major player builder with it as a production manager, and I just basically, we build houses, and how long they took, and I had a vice president of Winnipeg at that time asked me why we're taking so long, and I nicely replied to him, well, that's how long it takes. And he said it doesn't have to, and it was like a light bulb moment. It's like, you're right. So long story short, we moved down from 10 to 12 months, and within 2 years, we were building appetite at 3.5 to 4.5 months.
Holy
Part of the equation
moly.
is, I was told we're about $3,000 a month carrying cost once we start to excavate. So that removal from a number of months there with it, we were saving $21,000 to $24,000 of construction monies during the build. But that's how I like to move forward, not just sit there and just say, well, that's how it is with it. I always look for ways of improving. That was one of my biggest moments that I'm quite proud of.
Okay. So I guess with that, especially going from what you said, 10, 11 months to build a home down
10 to 12 months, yeah.
Right? 3.5, 4. What are some of the challenges? Like what are some of the issues that you find in there that are the major barriers? What are the barriers to actually being able to get that kind of timeline and still keep the quality that's necessary? Right?
Well, I was fortunate as my role as production manager was also production manager, construction manager. I oversaw scheduling. I also oversaw estimating. So, sometimes you can take a look at, the lowest price isn't always the best. When I factored out working with trade partners or selecting them, price was very important. But I also understand something called fair market value. I also take a look at the company who I'd be working for. Do they have the workforce to be able to meet our capabilities? From a scheduling point of view with it, we have to ensure that we let them know ahead of time when they are needed. Not, hi, we need you there tomorrow with it. We expect them to jump when they've got other contractors. So there's a few items there. Challenge-wise, how I would perceive is, again, driving solely off of price and price alone, not fully having a job prepared to run smoothly, not sending out the schedule notifications, not having potentially proper field support. Are your supervisors properly trained? Is the site ready to accept that trade partner when they show up? Is it dirty? Is it messy? Is it organized? If you can cross off a number of pluses onto that, things are going to run a lot more smoothly. As we say, you're going to run into challenges, but if you face that challenge, which do occur, my biggest thing is to make sure, how do we avoid that from happening again? But putting yourself in the best position of success, learning off of something as opposed to just letting it happen again and again and again.
Absolutely. Okay, so somebody's looking to build or renovate, large-scale renovation. What advice would you give? Somebody's looking to build. They're just starting. They're just getting ready. They're all excited to do something. What should be their first steps?
Don't jump. Look around. Make a cognitive decision for something. I would meet potentially with more than one if you're looking for something with it. There's renovations and new home construction are kind of two different, can be two different things here. So in a new home construction point of view with it, depending on the home you're looking for, the budget you're looking for, are you looking for an entry-level product? Are you looking for something more, say, an infill product or more of a custom home? And then you can kind of gauge your appetite. Some of the builders are more aimed towards a production builder. Some are more of a custom type builder with it. Find out where you fit into that appetite and move from there. But with Google search nowadays out there with it, you can find a lot. You would go tour around some of the new areas. You take a look at some of the builders with it. You go to their websites and you see what they're all about with it. Nowadays I see sometimes in social media where they'll literally say, hey, have you heard about, this builder, that builder? Do you recommend any builders you work with it? It's not going to hurt. But, and part of that then is try to understand their experience. And that's where I'm going to go back to some of the major players that are involved in, Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Calgary. Chances are if they're in a number of cities, they're probably quite a well-established builder. So that would, in my world, get a bit of a check mark for the production style. You're not going to have that with your custom style, so that'll be a whole different avenue there. But when it comes to a custom build, then you probably take a look around as well and see their portfolio on their websites, what they've done. Perhaps can you contact any of their clients to see how it is and see if that comes into play. Those would be important items, what I would look for. But basically, you want that experience to be there. Again, this is where we fall back on companies nowadays can potentially start at the top and work their way down where the experience not be fully there with it. And I will say with it, if you're going to have issues with the build with it, sometimes that cost can fall on the consumer as opposed to the actual builder.
Right. I know another thing, another important aspect I would think is actually being able to build that relationship with your builder or with the person you're dealing with, right? Because again, this isn't a simple just repainting a wall. This is building your new home that you're going to be into for years and years and years, right? And, I can't say that, everybody has a different piece of flooring or any tech things, right? A house is a house is a house-ish. Right, but it still comes down to you still need to make sure that that person's going to be there with you and for you, and make sure it's going to be servicing it after the fact, right?
That is, yeah. See, and that you touched on something for my own personal. When I build with clients, we're there every step of the way. I don't, welcome to the company, please sign the contract and give you a sheet of paper with, okay, here's where you go select your flooring, your cabinets, your trims and doors. We go with you. If it's not me personally with it, I have somebody going with you, because you're not dealing with the trade partner. You're dealing with, the company I work with, created, and we represent you on our behalf. We participate in the decisions. We offer input at times with them, as opposed to just, sending back the client again to say, I'm going to go take a look at the cabinets. We'll give so-and-so a call, and then they call me and say, well, we met with the client, and, we more of a hands-on. Now, again, that's more of a smaller builder mentality with it. If you're into production style builder, that would be something different. But, there you probably have multiple choices if it's a pre-built home with it, but two different levels that way. Yeah. But, that personal experience with it, in my opinion, you're already paying for it. It should be there when you need it.
Yeah. But even with the production builders, you still need to know that the best foot's going forward, that they're still dealing with people who are reputable, still going to make sure that at the end of the day, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, you're still proud of it.
Well, there's the other part of the story too with it. I'm going back again with 600 plus homes I've been involved with. Two issues come to mind, and it would be flooring and it would be exterior, specifically vinyl siding related. And, we go back to the attitude of making sure that they're aware of it. First and foremost, so we don't have those problems, is, you do a proper walkthrough with the client. You can walk through 5 times and find some little demerit, if you will, with it. But, you're going to go do a walkthrough. Well, heaven forbid you miss something 3 months later, 11 months later. There's still no reason to not look after the customer for it. As I'm very fond of saying with it, I have an iPhone or something, I drop it, I break it, I'm upset for a couple of days going, dang, I broke my phone. I can't imagine, buying a house, which is a large investment, putting your key in that front door with a frown on your face. That's something that
horrible. Waking up every morning and going to bed
every single day. You're going there, and just yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think about what the future holds for building in Regina?
Well, as I alluded to earlier with it, we weathered the storm with the interest rates here. And now it's going into 2025 and trying to understand the appetite of where our city's headed. We've got some development challenges now. East End has been popular to date, and it's wrapping up. I think we have maybe a year left of inventory with it. And from what I'm hearing, then is there may not be any future growth out till 2030. So there's been some approvals now in the Northwest, which will finally transition an area to move forward with it. So now it's going to take that, where people are comfortable in the East End and, to see how things are going to go in the Northwest. I think from the city point of view, it's going to take, a few years as well for us to get up to that development where we should be. Because I still view, again, as from the city point of view with it, I like to think home ownership is still so important for families or individuals. And when you take a look at the rest of Canada, where pricing is, and the affordability in Regina is just, it's incredible. So, we may not offer, quote, some of the bells and whistles of the major centers, but, the good news is you're going to pay less for your home. From what I remember at a builders meeting a few months ago, we either had the highest or second highest disposable income of all of Canada. That's going to allow you to put more money away for savings or for your vacations or for your kids, as opposed to being mortgage broke with, some of the major centers. Calgary comes to mind, and seeing how house prices have shot up in the last few years, it's just it's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, where like it says, you can come here and still buy a house at a competent dollar value, and to me that that's very attractive.
Still build your equity, but still have that quality of life.
Yeah, well, a quality of life that's going to allow you to because as you say, go back to spending 10 years in Calgary and coming back 10 years later and seeing people I've known and how well they're doing. Because the Calgary mentality, and not everybody, but there's a very much pro-spend attitude there. You had to have the newer car, you had to have the bigger house, and you had to go out for dinner every night with it. I jokingly say with it, people buy a large screen TV in Calgary just to put it on the wall and say they have it. Here we watch it. Anyways, it's just, I think a lot of good things are going to be recognized out of the city. It's a nice, safe community. It's got a smaller feel to it, which, by no means is a negative in my opinion. Everything is 15 minutes away. Yeah, it's a great place, especially for raising family. I would think so.
Nice and safe.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today, Myles, and look forward to working with you in the future.
I always enjoyed you as well, Michael.